Hello everyone, the name is Dark and we are playing some Ark Mobile. Today I'm going to be showing you how to solo gather 6,000 metal in only 7 minutes. Let's do this. I'm currently at the Blue Obelisk Mountain and I'm using an RG Anki combo. I'm playing medium official PVX. I'm in the PvE zone, of course, because it says the Blue Obelisk. And to start off, I'm going to be hitting these rich metal nodes. Those are the shinier ones, the more gold-looking ones. These are the best rocks to start with because they get the most metal per hit. Now, the reason I'm using an RG today and not a Quetz is because as a solo player, it's difficult to store the Quetzal at a solo base, number one. But number two is the RG is just a lot more maneuverable. So when you don't have that teammate or tri-mate or second player riding the Yankee while you carry them around, when you don't have that and you're just doing it solo, it's a lot more difficult to land that Yankee where it needs to be to hit the rocks with that Quetzal. It's a lot easier with the RG just because of that maneuverability aspect of it. And also as a solo player when you're playing PvP, you need to be able to vacate an area quickly or just be able to fly quickly because it's easy to get caught and picked mid-farming and then all that work is for nothing and you can lose tames that way as well. So the RG Anki is definitely the best option for a solo player. Also, as a solo player, you want to make sure you stay focused on what you're doing in that moment. So right now, we're just going to be focused on farming metal. And I'm going to be dropping all of the stone, all of the obsidian, and any crystal we gather in the process. The flint and berries that we gather, I'm just going to hold on to those. The flint is fairly light compared to the metal we're collecting, and the berries are also very light, and if anything, they just keep the Yankee fed. Now, there are times as well where keeping that obsidian and crystal is more beneficial. If you do decide to do that, though, make sure you move it to your RG because the RG will get a weight bonus on the obsidian and the crystal, and the Yankee will not. Obviously, leave the metal on the Yankee, but that obsidian and crystal, just periodically move it over to your RG and you'll get a little bit more extra weight to work with for that metal gathering. Now, I'm sure you've noticed that I am getting quite a bit of metal per hit from this Yankee. This Yankee does have some pretty decent melee. It's been bred for this specific purpose. But honestly, if you're taming an Yankee from the wild, if you're on a medium server, you want to be taming something 135 plus, so between 135 and 150. And when you tame it, it's going to jump up to anywhere between 190 and 210, depending on the effectiveness and the exact level that you're taming it at. But ultimately, any Yankee you tame around those levels will come out pretty decent. As long as the melee is between 3, 4, 5, 600, you should be pretty good. If it's coming out with a 600 melee, that's actually probably considered lucky. That's fairly high for an initial tame for the melee on an Yankee. But what really matters more than that base stat for the Yankee is where you're putting the levels. So if you're leveling up a little bit of health, a little bit of weight, and then some in melee, that's not going to be good for your Yankee. You want to be putting all of your levels into melee. Every single one of those level points need to go directly into your melee stat, and it won't be long before you're above 1,000, and possibly even higher than that. And that's really the most important thing for your Yankee, is just to level up that melee stat. And the other thing that can help with the melee on the Yankee is through breeding and imprinting, but really that's just another conversation for another time. But it's not something that a lot of solo players are able to do just because of how often you have to be in hiding or constantly getting raided. Breeding is not something you really get the luxury of doing as a solo player nearly as often. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but we got over 250 metal on that last hit with that rich metal node that was back there, just like these two up here. These rich metal nodes give tremendously more metal per hit, over double. The normal rocks I'm getting between 90 and 100, and these I'm getting over 250 each hit. Now that is definitely a huge bonus, and if you see these rocks, you want to make sure you go and hit them with the Yankee. Most of these spawns will be near the top of Blue Obelisk, near the volcano, or at the top of the volcano, or at the top of the other mountains. Now typically there's a lot of alpha bases in these areas, so if there are alpha bases and you're not allied with them, don't bother trying to do it because you're just going to end up getting you and your team killed. But if you are safe to go up there, if you have access to any areas where those spawn, it is definitely worth it, and I definitely suggest doing it. So while we're going along farming all this metal, I do want to take a moment just to introduce myself. This is my very first YouTube video that I'm doing, so if you are watching this anywhere close to September 2019, then this is very new and new for me as well. If you're watching this sometime in the future, then hey, maybe I made it, so that's great. But regardless, if you do like what you see and you like what you hear, please like the video and subscribe and turn on the notifications for more content, because that will definitely help me out as I embark on my YouTube journey. I'm hoping to post all sorts of videos relating to Ark Mobile, from farming and breeding to playing PvP and just solo life in general. So please, if you do like Ark Mobile and you like my content, please give me a like and subscription. That'd be great. So now we are getting pretty close to having a full load of metal. Right now I'm at the point where I'm just dropping the Yankee in the large clusters of metal. I'm not bothering with the single rocks unless they're the rich metal nodes. But I'm just hitting what the Yankee can reach and then just moving the Yankee to the next spot. Kind of like this. This is a nice little cluster. I should be able to get 3 or 4, or it looks like maybe 2, 3, or 4 out of this. We're just chugging along. Now, I do want to talk about one more thing too before we finish up this metal run. The Yankee and RG that I have are of course bred, like what I was saying, and I am a solo player. I'm not in a tribe with other players. But I am able to breed like this because I'm on a PVX server. PVX servers have the PvE section where I can't be rated, and that's why I'm able to breed like this. Now the hope is eventually to transfer to a PvP server with a few select tames, and then just keeping a second character on this server just to keep my lines active, the breeding lines, safe. And just basically using this server as kind of a home base for my tames and my breeding operations. But as a solo player, if I was on a PvP server, I would not be able to do this. I would just have to tame a couple wild tames and go from there. And alright, so it looks like we've got a full load now and as much metal as we can carry. So I will see you back at base and let's see how much we got. Alright, looks like we got just over 6,000 metal in about 7 minutes, and that is definitely not bad at all for a solo metal run. Now I do want to take a minute to talk about the stats on my tames. As you can see, my RG has a little bit over 1,600 total weight, and if I take off the gold collar, it's right around 1,250. Now that's not high at all for a weight stat on an RG. Especially with this specific RG, I put a few level ups into movement speed and not even all my level ups into weight. If you put all of your level up points into weight, your RG can have easily over 1,500 weight and even close to 2,000 if you have a gold collar. And now the Yankee that I'm using has over 1,800 total melee, and that definitely is a high melee stat. I've put all of my level ups into melee, and it looks like I've got a level up right now, and just like everything else, that'll go directly into the melee stat. And now with the gold collar on this Yankee, it doesn't actually affect the melee at all. As you can see, when I take that collar off, the melee stat doesn't go down at all, and when I put it back on, it doesn't go up. What does affect the melee stat though is the imprinting. So because I bred this Yankee and I imprinted it 100%, I get a 30% damage increase whenever I hit anything with this, including the rocks. So that will definitely help with the melee. But overall, as long as you put all of your level ups into the melee stat, any wild Yankee should do. As long as you're taming it as close to max level as possible when you tame it, and you put all your level ups into that melee stat, it won't be long before you're above 700, 800, 900, and that should be plenty to get quite a bit of metal per hit on those metal rocks. And so to finish things up, we got 6,000 metal in about 7 minutes. My name is Dark and I'm playing Ark Mobile, and I cannot wait to make a whole bunch more Ark Mobile videos. If you like the content, please like and subscribe, turn on the notifications. That would help me out a lot on my future YouTube adventures. Thank you very much. Have a good one, guys.